What is going on, guys? I am Dan Man, aka Daniel's son, and I am with, as always, Walking Dead Mike.
How you guys doing?
Mike, you know what time it is. I mean, if anybody saw the trailer, if anybody's been seeing my posts, you know what time it is. And it's time for that Walking Dead
Oh damn!
comic book
Oh
edition
damn!
podcast, baby. Oh man, yeah!
You can
I need more
tell me.
money. I need more money to get the whole set.
Those books are expensive.
They are. They're about like, geez, like
I think 35, right?
35 plus tax. So you're looking at a good 40.
It's a lot of money.
Maybe,
It's well worth it though.
yeah, maybe they went down in price, but yes, if you guys, we're talking comic book only, no TV this time around. So spoilers, you have been warned. And if you haven't already, if you want to read the comic book, you gotta get some of these volumes, man. You gotta get some of these volumes. Look at this hardcover. Great stuff. The inside looks beautiful. Mike, you know what's up.
Yeah, those books have great quality. Yeah, really nice.
Oh yeah, I still got to get the whole set. I'm missing a couple, but sooner or later. Sooner or later. Mike, so much is going on with the comics. I mean, right now we're at a point where there might be another war. Negan's coming back in the fold. The Whisperers are one of the most dangerous group in the comic book series. So let me ask you, Mike, how do you feel in the current time that we're in with the comics? How do you feel about the Whisperers, Negan, and just so forth, going on to the next issue? How do you feel about going on to the next issue?
I'm pretty nervous for what's to come. I really don't know what's going to happen next. Kirkman always leaves us on our toes and all these cliffhangers. And you're right, the Whisperers are definitely one of the most lethal groups we've ever come across throughout the whole series of The Walking Dead. And I don't know, Negan. Hopefully Rick will use him to his advantage because he's been in that cell for over 2 years now, and can't wait to see what Kirkman has in store for him. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what's next to come and how we're gonna end this Whisperer story arc, and if it's gonna end anytime soon, which I really can't see that happening anytime soon. I say we got at least another 3, 4, 5 issues with the Whisperers at least.
Oh yeah, the Whisperers. I think the Whisperers are just, when they got introduced, I was like, okay, what is this all about? And they were very intriguing. I mean, I don't know how you feel about the Whisperers, but when I first saw the Whisperers and what they did, and just having the zombie skin on them, I mean, this is another level to hiding themselves from the walkers and destroying their enemies at their own kind of, using their surroundings to destroy them. I mean, how did you feel when you first saw the Whisperers and what they were able to do, and how are they, when you first saw them with that dead skin on them and this whole community? And they're not, I don't want to say they're not too barbaric. Well, they're kind of barbaric, but they're really setting it. They really have a different way of running things other than Rick and the others. How did you feel when you first saw the Whisperers, Mike?
Glad you asked that. The first time we ran into the Whisperers, I was very scared. I was legit scared for one of the first times ever in the whole comic book series. Really frightened. I was thinking, for them to get a whole group of people, they have a nice amount of people from what we've seen so far, to actually skin zombies and use their skin. It must take a lot of time and detail to make these skins for the different size bodies that everyone has and all that. So when I first seen them, I was literally frightened. I mean, really think about it. It's pretty sickening how detailed all these you can say uniforms are that they wear. It's really crazy.
I mean, yeah, Mike. I mean, it's just insane when I just saw that, what they were doing. I mean, it's so smart to go that route too. I think that's the smartest route Kirkman can go, because I had no clue where he was going to go with this time skip and everything. Because those first issues, I knew that it was basically, with the time skip, it was basically kind of introducing this world that we're at today and what Rick built. And then when we got in saw what the Whispers can do and how deadly they really were, I mean, it just like blew my mind. I'm like, oh my, this is definitely the route to go. I mean, of course, Rick, when Rick sees these guys, he's gonna be shitting bricks. And I gotta say, she's starting to become a badass. She's starting to become really, really a badass. We'll see in the future issues how badass she is. But Alpha, what are your thoughts on the leader of the Whispers, Alpha, Mike?
Alpha, I agree with you 100% that she is definitely a badass. And I don't know if there was a leader before her and she took over, but she's running a really crazy group of people. As I said before, for them to must take a lot of time and effort to make these zombie skins. And I think when we all first seen them, at least me, we underestimated them. I didn't think they were capable of hoarding that. It must have looked like about 2,000 zombies in a couple issues back when she showed Rick on the roof with all those zombies.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that. Man, when that issue happened, I don't think there was really too much in that issue as well. I mean, but it was definitely we're build up to finally get that conversation between Alpha and Rick. But man, when I saw what she showed Rick, I was like, Rick, you're done. You're done. You definitely need Negan's help or somebody's help, because if she unleashes all that upon you guys are done. Unless you guys do the same game and use a skin for like the skin from the Walkers, you guys are done. You guys are done. This is way too much. You're looking at another situation with Alexandria.
Yeah, and with that big group of zombies that she has, I would say Alexandria, as well as the rest of the communities, are in for a big treat. And I don't think the Alexandrians know what they're in for. But Rick definitely seen that. Rick definitely seen that. That's why he's keeping it cool right now and trying to keep everyone calm. And he wants revenge, but he's seen what a lot of Alexandrians didn't see. And Alpha is very manipulative. For her to get all those groups of people out, like all the deaths we had in issue 144,
yeah,
for her to lure all those people out and decapitate them, she must be very manipulative. So we're in for a surprise, and I can't wait to see it.
Mike, that chapter was insane. That issue was insane. I mean, when I read that, and then at the end where all the heads were on the pole, oh my God, that was one of the craziest issues that came out. I mean, I was just like, no way. I mean, Esquivel? Really? Esquivel, buddy? Like, that's crazy. That's crazy shit. What did you think when you saw that, man?
When I first turned that page and I seen the panel with Ezekiel's head on the stake, I seen the dreads, and I literally jumped out of my seat, and I was like, oh my gosh. I thought it was Michonne at first. I really thought it was Michonne at first. But in issue 143, we seen Ezekiel running out to get Michonne and chase her down. I knew he was a goner in the issue before. So to take down the king, I'm sure the kingdom is in very rare form right now. They want nothing but revenge, because King Ezekiel was very loyal to all the communities. He was a great guy, as from what we've seen in all the issues that he's been in the comics so far. So a lot of people want revenge.
Yeah, I mean, man, well, at least he gets to join his tiger. So there's that.
Yeah.
I thought, I really did think too, or I didn't. I mean, it was definitely. I was worried. I was worried that Michonne, Andrea were going to be right up there, and that would have been just intense. But you know who else is going to be wanting revenge, and that's Eugene. Eugene is going a little bit crazy, right? Not crazy. He's still calm, cool, collected, but boy, does that guy have a hatred towards the Whispers and Alpha. Oh man, what do you think, Mike? You think Eugene's going to really kind of lose it towards the end of this kind of war? I mean, we know your theory about him using the radio and stuff, but like, you think he's going to survive this war that's coming ahead?
We're starting to see Eugene slowly lose it as of the past couple issues, but I gotta tell you, man, I'm really nervous for Eugene. I hope he doesn't die because I feel like there could be a lot more story told with him, and he is a very very big asset towards all of the communities right now. He's a very important individual. I don't know if you agree with me, but he's capable of many things. He's very intelligent, and I feel like we need him. I don't know if you remember, and I think it was back in issue 127, the first issue to like the new beginning when we right after that time skip. Um, Rick sat down Eugene. He's like, I don't want you going out there anymore. You're too important to this community. We can't risk you anymore. And I believe Rick was 100% right in saying that. And after Eugene losing his, I guess you can say, wife or his very close loved one, Rosita, and the unborn child, he is slowly starting to lose it. And it's getting me nervous that he might bite the dust soon. But I hope that's not the case.
I have Eugene actually. He is a vital. Just because he physically can't fight or this and that, he's vital to the group, like you said, Mike. I mean, he's created so much. He's helped so much for this new, somewhat future for Rick and his group. But I have him biting it. I have him biting it at the end of this war. I have him contributing one more time with your theory, with the radio and everything, and then biting the dust, either going heads on and just doing something reckless, or overall just getting killed. I think he knows that this is it for him. I think he wants to get that little bit sweet revenge and then bite the dust, because I think he doesn't want to move on. I don't think he wants to keep living without Rosita. I don't know how you think about. What do you think about that, Mike?
I feel the same way. You're right. I don't think he has it in him to move on after Rosita. I feel like from now on he's just going to be very miserable and depressed, and always wanting revenge until he gets that final moment of revenge. And I think he's going to have a really big part to play in the next upcoming issues. But I hope if he does bite the dust soon, that he leaves that CB radio behind in working condition, and that he does contact somebody. And if you think about it, maybe he will bite the dust soon, because his first appearance was issue 53, and we're almost at 153. So maybe Kirkman might be planning him reaching 100 issues, and then him biting the dust. So maybe he will pass soon, but I honestly hope he doesn't, because like I said before, he is a major asset to all the communities right now.
Yeah, that'd be a nice little number. It would definitely be a nice little number to send him off.
That's a long streak in comics. 100 issues is a really long streak. And who thought Eugene would be the last one out of Rosita and Abraham and him to be surviving? Not me.
Most definitely. And he's probably, you're right, Mike, too, that he probably contributed the most out of those two, honestly.
Oh yeah, I would definitely say, yeah, he definitely contributed more than a lot of people right now.
Yeah. Okay. So Mike, just go into Rick's shoes. I mean, you barely have a hand, or you only have one more hand basically. You're on a cane and stuff. You go back, and after all this mess and after all these deaths, these shocking deaths, was Rick right into basically saying, telling everybody, of course, but saying we're not going to do anything until we really handle this matter, until we figure out what we're going to do next, and of course protecting Lydia? You think Rick is right through all this and how he's been playing it, or you think no, he should have strike first and just go after the Whispers, or you think slow playing it and allowing Negan to come into play is the right move for Rick? Do you believe that's the case, Mike?
I always, throughout the comics, I always stuck by Rick's opinions, but I'm disagreeing with a couple things that he's doing right now. He might be playing this game too slowly. I think he has to make plans a little bit more quickly than he is, because I don't think Alpha is going to keep her word and say that she's gonna like hold herself back unless someone passes that border that she made. But Rick's a smart man, and I'm sure he has. He's confused right now, and a lot of people are against him. But I'm sure that he has plans for that group because he definitely wants revenge after what happened. Um, yeah, I think Rick has something in store for Alpha, but he has to make moves quick, not just strike. He has to be very strategic about his moves, and I think he has to gather up all these communities, including the Sanctuary and Dwight's people, and do something quick, very quick. The sooner the better.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. You know, for a moment there too, I thought, is Rick not going to tell everybody what went down? Is he going to come up with, like, you know, cover up a cover up story? I thought he was going to do that for a moment. And honestly, if he would have done that, boy, that would have been a little, that would have been a little shady. That would have been like, damn, Rick, what the hell are you doing? For instance, did you think that he might cover up that story? I don't think Michonne would allow it, honestly. But
You took the words right out of my mouth. For a millisecond, I really thought he might. There was a possibility that he might cover it up. But yeah, you just took the words right out of my mouth. I don't think for 1 second Michonne would allow that, and especially that Ezekiel was one of those people who was beheaded in that little that border situation in issue 144. I don't think Michonne would allow that. And being Rick's wife now, I don't think Andrea would allow that either.
oh hell no, Andrea will not hold her tongue. If we know anything about Andrea, which we'll get into later on in the show, we know that Andrea don't. She fucking says what she wants to say, and she slaps it. You know, she gives Rick, like, listen, what are you doing, buddy? Like, she definitely is the ear to Rick. You know what? I gotta say, Michonne, there was an instance too where I thought she was gonna go on a warpath, and at first I thought she was really gonna go kill Lydia, but I think she knows that she's hurt, she's sad, she's emotional, but she still keeps herself. She still has composure, not like Eugene. So I don't know. Did you really think that Michonne was going to kill Lydia, or did you really believe her in saying that she was actually going to go take her away because everybody else wanted to kill Lydia?
I don't think Michonne would have lied to Rick. I think if she was going to kill Lydia in that instance and go in that house and slice her up with her katana, I think she would have told Rick and not held it back. So yeah, I believe that she was telling the truth and that she was trying to hide Lydia, but at first I thought Michonne was just going to disappear again and try to do something stupid on her own towards the Whisperers and Alpha and the Whisperers group. I'm glad she didn't, though.
I thought so too. I thought that was another route that they could have went, where she would go do something on her own. You know, yeah, Mike. I mean, Michonne really trusts Rick. She will do anything for Rick at this point. I mean, the chemistry, the camaraderie that those two have, it's like a brother and sister type of relationship in the comic books, where she'll die for Rick if she has to. So, yeah, that's why I think she still was composed and she didn't want to do anything reckless, because she knows that this would just bring more headaches to Rick, because he already has a communities after his head, because he won't do anything at this right now. But of course, he's going to start doing something, and we're going to start, and just wait until everybody reacts when they see Negan helping them out. What do you think? This is going to, they're not going to, I don't think they're going to do anything, but they're definitely going to, it's going to be entertaining to see Negan right there just saying, hey, Rick, we should go kill Alpha.
I'm very interested to see what part Negan's going to play in this story. I mean, I don't know if Rick is going to let him out. I doubt that, but he's definitely going to be asking Negan for advice. In my opinion, I think so. I really think so. And another reason why I feel like Rick isn't just going straight to war, which he very much could if he wanted to. As you can see, all of the community members are ready to battle up and just go to war with the Whisperers. But I feel like Rick is trying to play his cards right, because he has so much to lose. He has so much to lose. All the stuff that he built throughout the years, all these communities, all his loved ones. I mean, Alexandria has become an amazing, amazing community. He has too much to lose to just go with his first instinct, and that was to be just strike these people.
You're right. I think he even said it too. An issue there's just way too much to lose as well. You're absolutely right, Mike. I mean, they're just it's war will always bring. It's never good. War is never good. It's gonna people will die. Things will be ruined. Like things will never go back the way they were. So with this war, yeah, Rick probably figures that yeah, a lot of people are going to die. A lot of people are going to die, and not only that, I might die myself. And will the community be able to go past this? So you're absolutely right, Mike. When Rick would be thinking that there's a lot to lose than to gain. So I think we got to go to Dwight. How does Dwight factor in all this? What do you think? What do you think Kirkman is doing with Dwight? Because Dwight, when he came to Rick, it was kind of crazy seeing Dwight go up to Rick and say, "I can't do this anymore. I can't be the leader that everybody wants to be me to be. I'm not Negan. I'm definitely not Negan, but I just can't do it, Rick. I can't do it." What do you think Kirkman is setting up for Dwight?
I really think Kirkman has big plans for Dwight, especially a couple issues back. I don't know, maybe it was a dozen issues or so. Maybe not even that long ago. Rick and Dwight were talking. Dwight says, I can't be the leader anymore. I'm not fit to be the leader. And I don't know if you noticed, but in that same issue, Negan told, it was when Negan's gates were unlocked. He was like, I want to start building trust. In the same issue that Dwight says he doesn't want to be the leader anymore. So I think Kirkman did something. Yes, it was the same exact issue where Negan wants to gain his trust back with Rick. Was the same issue that Dwight says he doesn't want to be the leader anymore. So I think Dwight is going to have a very, very big role to play in the future to come. And Negan might gain his trust with Rick again. It sounds stupid. It might sound stupid after what happened to Glenn, but it's very possible. It's very possible. Even though Rick says, I'll never trust you again, it still could happen.
So do you think Negan will take back or be once again the leader of the Saviors?
I don't know about that. I don't think. If it does happen, I don't see it happen anytime soon. But it's always possible. I don't know if it's really tough. We can go in many different ways. It's really tough. What do you think? You really think that Negan could take over the Saviors again?
It's a small chance, but if I had to say, then after time goes on and after if the communities are still intact and stuff, I do think that maybe he could take over. And of course, he would be building the trust of Rick, but Rick wouldn't want him to live where he's living. So, it's very small, but it could happen. It definitely has to. Everything has to really fall into place for that to happen, though. And of course, the biggest thing is Negan. Even though he's still that smart ass, we got to see if he actually kind of changed. If he is sincere about his words that he wants to build trust with Rick. But like I said, my theory is that he will kill Rick eventually, and that's the Negan I'm waiting for. But it could be a totally opposite thing, and Negan could be really sincere and really mean what he said to Rick. Because there is, but when that final conclusion, that final fight with Rick and Negan, when Rick was telling Negan his what he wants to do with the community, where how they could live, how they could survive, you could see just Negan's face, just like his jaw drop and say, "You're right. We could do this. We could do that." And then Rick just totally just goes after his ass. So there is. I don't know if Negan's really sincere, or really wants to change. What do you think, Mike? Do you think he's sincere in changing?
I really think Negan is going to be around for the long run, and I honestly think that he's eventually going to be on our side. And what I mean by our side is the community side, and I really think that after all this time in his jail cell, which was well over 2 years, he's gonna turn for the better. I would love to see that. I would love to see that Negan be on our team.
Oh, okay, Mike. That's fine. but I don't think Maggie would agree with you.
Oh no, no, I'm actually scared to see if this does happen, how Rick and Maggie's relationship will be after that.
That would be a huge rift. I don't see how Maggie would just go along with that. I don't think hell, Maggie would probably make a few attempts at Negan's life if Rick were to allow Negan to be with the community and to just live. I mean, just that would really, really, really maybe we've seen somewhat. I don't know if it's foreshadowing or maybe I don't know if it's something, but we've seen Rick and Maggie really go at each other in these couple of issues, and they haven't been on the same page. So maybe you have something there, Mike. Maybe Negan does, is able to live a lot longer, switch to the side, say, okay, I'm with you guys. I am one of you guys. But Maggie will never let that happen because she still remembers Glenn. So do you think that was kind of foreshadowing with Rick and Maggie? Because those two haven't been on the same page lately. What do you think of that might happen in the future issues?
It'd definitely be interesting to see like a conflict between Maggie and Rick, but I think they're smarter than that. After all this time together and being on the same side, I just can't see. It'd definitely be drama. There'd definitely be a lot of drama, and it'd be very interesting to see. But I hope whatever happens with Negan and however he comes back into play in the comic book series, that everything will be okay between Maggie and Rick. As terrible as that was, what happened to Glenn, I really think it's not going to be. If Negan comes back into the game and comes back onto our side, it's not going to be anytime soon. He has to gain trust over a period of time. It's just not going to. I don't think you'll ever be able to trust Negan, ever. You're always going to have to watch your back with him, but it's very hard. And Kirkman, I really think Kirkman is going to have Negan in this comic book series for a very long time because he kept him in the jail cell for all this time. He's not just going to take him out and kill him off, in my opinion. I think it'd be really stupid. So I think he has very big plans for Negan, and I really cannot wait to see what those plans are.
So I guess we're not going to get a civil war.
It's totally possible. It's totally possible.
If I saw the Civil War trailer today, I'm still just of Marvel Civil War, Tony Stark and Captain America. But it also was interesting. I don't know if there is anything to it. I would think there would be something to it because everything that goes on in Walking Dead, there could be really something to it, even though how little it kind of is. Maggie did send Gregory to his death. Does that mean anything, though?
It means that she's not. I think she should have went to Rick before that. What do you agree with me?
Yeah, that's why I feel like these two are definitely there's something there. There's something there that might be set up for later on. And it's we thought it was resolved with Rick and Maggie apologizing to each other after they get in little fisticuffs where Maggie was kicking his ass. But there's just so much has been going on, and these are the two people from not from the very very beginning, but in the beginning, and they of course they're great friends. They're pretty much family at this point. But there's some I could feel like something is ahead, and her not telling Rick and Rick getting super pissed off of everything Maggie's doing. I mean that kind of is a big deal because Rick doesn't want Maggie seems like she's taking her community a different route than Rick's.
I totally agree with you. I really think she is taking a different route with her community. And I feel like she should have approached Rick before she did anything to Gregory. She could have easily just locked Gregory up for maybe 24 hours while she sent out, or even went herself to the hilltop and spoke to Rick herself. And I think another thing, I think that she should have sent people out right away when Carl went missing.
Oh yeah.
The second that
Oh,
happened, I think she should have sent people, or she should have went herself to go talk to Rick and let him know that Carl went missing. And she could have killed two birds in one stone and said, "Look, Gregory tried to assassinate me."
yeah. I mean, it you. It's the same kind of thing that Rick had to deal with Negan, but in different circumstances, of course. Um, but I don't fault Maggie for doing what she did. I actually kind of, because man, Gregory's just a lying little piece of shit. You know, he's definitely a little weasel, and he tried to kill Maggie, and he tried to take back the hilltop. So I don't necessarily disagree with Maggie, but she has made questionable decisions with Carl, like you said, and with not telling Rick. And we're gonna get to Carl because there's a lot to talk about Carl, but we're gonna spotlight Maggie real quick. And I honestly think Maggie is definitely the TV version of Carol, where we didn't think anything were gonna come out of it with this character, but boy, has she transformed over the years. How do you feel about Maggie, Mike, from when we first met her and Herschel and all them to right now where she is the leader of the hilltop and she's making hardcore decisions to try to bring her community, try to lead her community like Rick?
I have to agree with you. I didn't see Maggie becoming what she is today in the comic book series, especially way back when we were first introduced to her. I believe it was issue 10. But I feel like she's fit to be a leader, and she is a leader right now, and I really think she's doing a pretty good job. But she has to realize that Rick is responsible for most of the stuff that happened and most of the stuff that is today with all these communities, and I really feel like in some way she's undermining Rick, and that could be dangerous in the future. Like what you said, there could be a civil war, and that's totally possible, especially if we have two people disagreeing with each other. As much as they love each other, we see it in the real world today. People get into conflicts and fight all the time, as much as they love each other. And it is very possible, like you said before, there could be a civil war, especially with Maggie undermining Rick, like she has been.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's definitely a strong possibility, but of course we got to get through the whispers first. I I like Maggie. You're right. Rick has. I mean, Rick got all of them this far, even though along the way some of his decisions we could question as well. With with Maggie, it's definitely just crazy how everything just turned out for her, how she was appointed basically the leader, and that relationship with how strong the relationship she has formed over the years with Rick, yet that could easily be broken because they do, like you said, Mike, live in an apocalyptic world, and that's worse than the real world we're living in at that point. Relationships will be strained, relationships could easily be broken, people could easily die, and people could easily backstab somebody. So Maggie, but I do think Maggie is doing a good job. Until we'll see what happens in the future issues. Where, like I said, where she started out, I honestly she was kind of just Glenn's, girlfriend at the time, and then of course she got pregnant. So they had that whole, and you know what? She's actually, and she's raising Sophia too. So you got to really give it up to Maggie over these. In the comic book series because and you know what, they're doing a good job with her in a TV series as well. But yeah, I mean, just a lot on Maggie's plate. Definitely a lot on Maggie's plate. But are you definitely looking forward to seeing what happens with Maggie as a character in the future, Mike?
Oh yeah, and I hope she doesn't go anytime soon. I love her and how Jesus is like her right hand, and
Yes.
Jesus is, yeah,
Yes.
he's
Yes.
doing such a good job at I guess trying to steer her in the right path. I love those two together, and Maggie is, you're right, she does have a lot on her plate, and she seems like she is handling it well. She's handling well. I believe that Gregory should have gotten hung the way he did, and in front of the whole community. I agree with what she did, but I really think that she should have told Rick before she did it, or after she did it. She should have told him sooner. If that, she waited way too long to break the news on Rick.
Rick has Michonne and Maggie has Jesus. You're absolutely right, Mike. I love what's going on between those two because those two seem that's what it is. It's an opposite of Rick and Michonne. Those two have so much trust with one another, and they definitely work. They're like the dynamic duo over there at Hilltop. Um, we're saying that we're saying a lot that they should go to Rick. They should go to Rick. Are we at a point and in the future where, right now Rick is the president. Right now Rick is the president. You go through every decision, every bill you want to pass. You go through Rick. There's still, that's a Rick-tatorship, so to speak. No, but he's the president, obviously. But at a certain point. When do you say, listen, Rick, you have your community. You guys are doing absolutely awesome. But we're over here. I'm the president of my community. Yes, I should go get advice from you. But you know what? We're dealing with stuff over here, Rick. So you need to deal with your stuff over there. Right now, it's basically community and community, leader and leader. It's definitely like, where's the point where you don't have to go to Rick anymore, or you shouldn't have to go to Rick anymore. You think, or do we in the future and always do we have to always go to Rick?
I feel like that after a certain point, you being a leader of your own community, you don't have to go to Rick for everything. But out of respect for the man,
the Godfather,
after he did what he did with Negan, Negan batted Glenn's face in front of everybody, and Rick locked Negan up. He didn't kill him. I feel like Maggie might as well have spit in Rick's face. It would have been the same thing as just hanging Gregory and not telling Rick about it. I feel like she just spit in Rick's face, like indirectly, and it was kind of disrespectful on Maggie's part. But you're right. There's only so much you can go to Rick. Because Rick is not going to agree with what everyone else agrees to,
Yeah, man. I mean, that's a good point because maybe Maggie was thinking a little bit, maybe Kirkman was thinking while he was doing the scene. Maybe Maggie was thinking Rick didn't pull the trigger, but that doesn't mean I can't. That means I need to do this. Rick didn't do it. I'll do it. So maybe there is that little something there. Maybe. Going for Maggie, though, and Maggie's decision not to send out to go get Carl. We got to talk Carl, man. So time skip happens. Carl has these weird glasses. His design is a little bit, I wasn't really happy with the design. I was like, Carl, that's you. I wanted to see where they were going to take Carl because Carl was starting to really come on his own, especially with Negan and that whole situation. I think that's where just jumpstart for Carl's character. We get introduced to Carl on a time skip, and boy, are you satisfied or so far? Or are you disappointed so far, Mike?
I have to tell you, Dan, Carl has been pissing me off.
Really?
Very badly. I used to like Carl a lot, but recently I do not like Carl at all. I really am disappointed in the route that Kirkman's going with Carl, but that I feel like that is going to turn around for the better. I think I'm going to start liking Carl again. But as far as what's going on right now, I'm starting to hate Carl a little bit.
I could see your point. I could definitely see your point, especially when he's going after Lydia, and especially the decisions he's making and getting everybody else making this war, so to speak. He kind of is a hand in this war, honestly.
Yeah, I think he's one of the main reasons why this is all happening right now. It's because him and his little crush that he has on Lydia.
His lust. Let's just call it what it is. His lust. That ain't love. That's lust.
So stupid. It's so stupid.
It was interesting seeing some of those issues too with Carl talking to Negan. What is that all about, Mike? Do you have any thoughts on that of Carl talking to Negan?
I really think Negan is sort of his mentor. I don't know if you remember, like a couple issues back when Carl was saying the F bomb every 2 seconds. There was this one specific panel where he just said the F bomb, just like, and it mirrored Negan. Like,
Oh,
I
wow.
feel
I
like
didn't catch
those
that.
you missed that.
I didn't catch that, dude.
Oh man, I could, like, pull it up right now. If I knew what issue it was, I'd pull it up and I'd show you the panel. But it was like almost the whole splash page of Carl just saying the F bomb like 5 times in one sentence, and I was like, wow. That was like right after he went down in the basement to chat with Negan, and I feel like as much as Carl says he still wants to kill Negan, I feel like those two are very very close buddies, and I feel like those two are gonna have their relationship is gonna grow in the future issues to come, and I think after Rick goes, after he bites the dust in the comic book series, him and Carl are gonna have a really serious relationship. I don't know why, but for some reason I really feel that way.
Sensei Negan. Sensei Negan. Yeah, it's just overall. I mean, and that's a dangerous combination because he has, of course, he's learned from his father, Rick, and Rick is a badass, and Rick is the lead, of course, a leader. Everybody, it's Rick, and then he has influence with Negan, and you put that together, that's a dangerous SOB right there. That's a dangerous man walking, our future man walking. I didn't catch that, Mike, which makes it so interesting that he would definitely be having some of the traits as Negan. And he has a dark side. He's kind of, he reminds me, he's like the Anakin of The Walking Dead in my eyes. Like, he definitely has that dark side. It could definitely go to a bad route where he kind of becomes, he's not now making he's making decisions lately that are stupid, but he's also explaining like why about Rick's plan and all that and the future and everything pretty good. But he could be like a killer in the future. He could be a future killer right here, especially a push to the edge. We saw that when he almost killed those 2 kids who hurt Sophia. Of course, it was granted because Sophia was getting hurt, but damn, like, he has that dark side, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does like start definitely enjoying killing people.
And if Lydia dies, I can definitely see him turning even towards his more darker side than he already is. And I'm glad you made a perfect example. He is like the Anakin Skywalker of the Walking Dead series. You couldn't have said it better. That is like a perfect example. And I maybe, who knows, in the future he might turn bad. Anything's possible in The Walking Dead. I feel like anything can happen in any second of The Walking Dead. Like, you can turn the page and Abraham can have an arrow sticking out of his eye.
Yeah,
like, anything could happen. Anything can happen. We've seen that before in the comics. So
we'll get to those deaths in a minute. But yeah, like Carl, it's just it's interesting where Kirkman is taking Carl. I would think that he would be. I think when it comes to the long term, he'll be on the verge of doing just that, of really turning into that dark side, the dark side. But I think I'm gonna think Rick's death kind of just brings him back to kind of reality. Like, I got to follow my father's footsteps instead of everything else. And my theory goes ahead where Negan kills Rick and then Carl kills Negan. We'll see if that happens though. But yeah, Carl and Lydia. That's his first boo. That's his first boo. He's in love. He's a kid in love. What do you think about that relationship? Because everything that's going on is definitely has to do with Carl and Lydia and Alpha.
I think it's very stupid and it's very aggravating towards me, but I feel like it's necessary. What's happening right now? I feel like it's necessary to progress the story. I mean, it didn't have to happen this way, but it is definitely progressing the story, and a lot of interesting things are happening because of Carl's likeness for Lydia and Lydia's likeness for Carl. So a lot of things sprung into place because of what happened. I think it was in issue 137 when Carl lost his virginity to Lydia. So
Yeah,
after that, a lot of crazy things started to happen.
yeah, and you know what? When we got first introduced to Lydia, I was like, "Yep, Carl's gonna go for that." She's so weird. She was so weird in the beginning too, but we do find out a little bit more about Lydia and what she has to deal with, of course, the whispers and stuff and how
Oh,
they run things. So you do feel pretty bad with her. And some of the conversations, that first conversations with her and Carl when they were locked up, was because I think they do feel somewhat kind of the same a little bit, especially in that situation. Both of them were locked up, where they were caged because they're just too dangerous. Um, this relationship with Carl and Lydia, I don't know if it's going to go further down the line. I don't know if Lydia's going to live past a lot of these issues, especially with the war coming. But if it does, I could see Lydia being that Andrea to Carl. But then that also leaves the situation with Sophia. What was going on with Sophia? What is Kirkman trying to do with Sophia when getting introduced to her again, and of course her and Carl actually mending their relationship and really, definitely reconnecting. So this is going to be a mess either way, and it's already a mess because we have a freaking war because of these two. And then the decision of Rick bringing Lydia into the community. This is interesting how this is all gonna play out. But if I had to put money on it, I don't think Lydia's gonna die. A lot of people, but I don't think she's gonna die. I think she's gonna keep going because you're gonna have more drama, especially with down the line with her. I think.
yeah, I agree. I don't think Lydia's going to die anytime soon. And if she does, that'd be a very big shock to me because I feel like Kirkman has big plans for them too. And I'm glad you mentioned Sophia because I think her storyline is far from over. And I can see her definitely becoming jealous about Carl and Lydia. And there's going to be a lot of conflict there, I think. Only
Yeah.
so much can go on with the whatever 30-something pages we have in each issue, but I feel like Sophia's storyline is far from over. And Lydia and Carl did have sex, but that was Carl's first time. Is it possible that Lydia could be pregnant? We could find out in a couple issues to come. I know they're both very young, but
Yeah. How old do you think Carl is in the comics right now?
I would say he's at least 15 or 16 years old. And Lydia, well, I think she was like 14 or 15. So I think it's possible. And they haven't mentioned anything yet, but it hasn't been months since they met. It's only been maybe a week.
Oh yeah. It hasn't been long at all. So.
So it's very possible that she could be pregnant, and that would be a whole huge twist on this whole story arc.
Oh man. Yeah. It looks like no. Rick's gonna be a grandpa.
Oh, Grandpa.
Grandpa Rick. Grandpa Rick. How'd you lose your hand?
Well,
Yeah, that would be such a big twist, and that definitely would bring like welcome to the family, Lydia. You're definitely one of us now.
yeah.
And Sophia, she would be pissed. She would be pissed. It's definitely that would be hardcore drama right there. That would be like El Telemundo drama right there if Kirkman decides to go that route.
That'd be a little crazy. That'd be a little crazy. It's possible. Is it going to happen? Probably not, but it's totally possible.
I will say it's very far fetched, but it is possible. With The Walking Dead, anything is possible. It's like you saying, "Yeah, you want to be an astronaut? Sure, it's far fetched, but anything is possible."
Especially in this series, yeah. Anything is possible. I can't see it happening, but who knows? Who knows?
Ugh, so much awkwardness that would be.
Oh yeah, it'd be very awkward, especially because they're so young. I don't know how Kirkman would pull that off, but I'm sure he could if he wanted to.
Oh, most definitely. Okay, Mike, we talked about a lot of the recent events that's happened, and a lot of great stuff is to come. I mean, we don't know what the situation. We've seen the covers and stuff with Rick full of blood, and of course Negan whispering in Rick's ear, like the Godfather mafioso type feel that cover was. I mean, just a lot of great things to come with the Walking Dead future, but I think we need to transition and go back to the past. And first, we need to really talk about what how do you feel when you kind of think back about everything that's happened up to this point? How do you when you think back about those first issues? What comes to mind, Mike?
I feel like we've definitely come a very long way, and everyone has transformed in their own certain way. Some for the better, some for the worse. I feel like back then we were a lot more savage than we are now, and it was very much necessary to become savage back then compared to now because I don't know if you agree with me, but I feel like even though we met the Whisperers, things have calmed down recently.
Oh, especially that time skip. Yeah, yeah, most definitely. And you know what? That's not bad at all because we did that. This is like The Walking Dead's heyday. This is where it all started back in the past, and now we're kind of slowing down, which is kind of that's fine because that's a breath we needed to take years ago. But uh, I'm okay with the pacing right now. I definitely okay because you never know. We could actually go full throttle once again and go back to that savagery, especially when we had villains like the governor. We had the governor. We had that whole ordeal. I mean, that was some intense moment. So speaking, Mike, what out of all the arcs until not counting pre-time skip, what kind of really makes you want to go back in? Which one of those? It could be the governor, or it could be the very beginning when. Where would you want? Like, what makes you want to go back and read? Which kind of issues or which kind of arc would you want to go back and read at this point?
I feel like the hunters were very interesting and totally realistic because in this world, everyone is not fit to hunt animals down. If you really think about it, it's very hard to hunt animals. If you find, like, let's just say a squirrel running around in the woods, how are you going to kill that thing? Because those things are fast. Same thing with like a deer. I don't know about you, but I'm not a hunter, and I feel like they could have done a lot more with the hunters and their cannibalism. That was a very dark chapter in the comic book series, and I feel like I wish we could go back and stretch that arc out a little bit more because they could have done a lot more with those hunters because it was very frightening.
Yeah, there was a lot of fantastic stuff that happened with the hunters, and I think the TV series did a fantastic job with it.
Oh yeah.
But they cut it a little bit short as well. They cut it a little bit short, just like Kirkman did as well. Um, just so many moments in there. What moment kind of strikes you the most when you think about the hunters?
Oh, how they were just, especially how they said. I believe they said they had to eat their own children.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like this world would, especially when you're hungry, starving you're going to become such a different person, so evil. We're animals, so our first instinct is like we need to eat, and
Yeah.
I feel like they could have done so much more with the hunters, even different groups that were cannibalists. I feel like we should have run into more cannibals in the series, or the hunters story should have been progressed a little bit longer, but yeah, that was gut wrenching for me to hear that they actually ate their own children. It's very scary, very scary.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, it was realistic. That was so great about it. It's realistic because I've read this book called The Road, and they made a movie. Made a movie adaptation of The Road. It's basically apocalyptic world, but it's a realistic apocalyptic world where there is no food. Everything is just full of ash. Like the whole world is full of ash, and at some point, everybody's gonna die. There's no way they could grow uh, whatever vegetables. They can't grow anything. They can't farm anything. They can't farm anything. So what do you? All the food is pretty much almost gone. So what do you resort to? Your resort is crazy because if you read the book, because they don't really show it in the film. In the book, they actually have women get pregnant and they eat the fetuses.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then this Virgil Morganson, the guy from Lord of the Rings, he basically he was in a movie adaptation. So his character in the book, like he witnesses these people eating the baby and like they're cannibals, you know, and that's what The Walking Dead. It's crazy to think about the hunters because not only do you have the walkers who are dead, they're zombies and they're eating people, okay, because they're zombies, but actual human beings eating other human beings and knowing that, especially what happened to poor Dale.
Oh man, that was unbelievable. Oof.
Oh,
That's
it's
a terrible way to go out.
terrible. Yeah, I mean, he was gonna go out no matter what, but just getting eaten was just like, come on, really? You're gonna really let me be eaten now? It's just, it definitely was a sucky way how Dale went. But we could also talk about maybe speaking when we just talked about Carl. What about Carl's decision of killing, you know, the adopted children of Andrea and Dale?
Was that Ben? Little Ben?
Yeah, it was the twins.
Oh man, I think we're gonna see more of that side of Carl coming soon, and
That was intense.
that was intense, man. That was intense, and I feel like Carl is like a light switch. 1 second he's I guess you could say somewhat normal, and then another second he's just totally crazy.
Yeah, he made a decision on his own. And this is like kid Carl. This isn't teenage Carl. This is kid Carl. So that kid has been through a lot.
Oh yeah,
And then, you know, we do in during this arc, I mean the Hunters was a you're right. It should have been expanded more. I think that's why I don't really talk about it as much, but there is a lot of great stuff happening in there, especially when Rick and the crew get their hands on the Hunters. And when I love when Dale says, "My meat is you know, I'm already a dying man, and you're pretty much gonna turn. Just keep eating me. Just go ahead, you little fuckers." I mean, that was definitely there's some great moments there. But when Rick and his crew get their hands on the Hunters, Gabriel, right? Gabriel was there, and he witnessed what Rick and his crew are all about.
that I'm glad you mentioned that scene. That I want that side of Rick again. That badass side of Rick, because that what he did to them was crazy, and I would love to see that side of Rick again. And he just, I feel like he took out all his anger in the past, whatever 70 plus issues it was. I mean, 60 plus issues it was during that time, and he took out all his anger on the Hunters, and
That was intense. That was intense. There's a lot of intense moments in this little arc.
yeah. I really enjoyed the Hunter story arc, and like I said before, I really wish they would have progressed it a little longer, or like I said before, we could have ran into other cannibals throughout our journey.
Yeah, most definitely. So speaking of Dale, because this was when Dale bit the dust. Overall, what did you think about Dale as a character? I mean, he was the first. He was one of the first people. So we lost him in the Hunters arc. We had his relationship with Andrea, of course, the famous relationship. We had him, of course, adopting those kids, and we had him wanting to kind of leave the group towards the end of that too. Especially when he said when they're in Herschel's farm, I believe Herschel's farm. So what did you think overall in Dale's character? Did you like him? Did you not like him? Or were you kind of happy that he kind of went in that particular issue?
I feel like he could have. they could have done more with Dale. And now that I see, I was gonna say Glenn. Now that I see Andrea and Rick together, it's kind of weird to picture Dale ever being with Andrea. I really didn't like Dale's character that much in the comic book series, but he was a great man, and he lived. He had a good run in the comic book series. He was around. I believe his death was maybe in issue 65 or 66. So he was around for quite some time, and I feel like they could have done a lot more with Dale, especially being one of the first in the series.
Yeah. Dale's relationship with Andrea when I first saw it, it was definitely took me aback. I'm like, huh? But that's what's great about The Walking Dead is that there's relationships being formed that you would have never really thought. And you could see how much Andrea actually really love Dale after Dale's death. And it took a while for her to really, like, she was starting to do the Rick thing where she was about almost at the verge of talking to a damn hat at one
Oh
point.
yeah,
So, I mean, that relationship being weird is definitely memorable because how weird it was and how kind of genuine it was towards the end of Dale's run. So, and then Dale, you can never forget his hat. You can never forget his RV. I mean, he definitely he did make a stamp his name on the Walking Dead series. Love him, hate him. I mean, I didn't end up really liking I did like the TV version of Dale. A lot of people were getting annoyed by him towards the end, but I think Dale overall as a character in both the TV and the comic book series, he actually is not too bad of a character in my opinion. I think he actually was he did bring something to the table for everybody else. He definitely was the voice. He also had some advice for Rick as well.
yeah, I agree with you. He was definitely like a mentor to Rick at certain points in the comic book series, and when he did go, you felt it. You definitely felt it, which
Yeah.
I mean, if you feel someone's death like it's someone in your own family, then I guess you did your job with that character.
Yeah, yeah. So going from Dale, let's talk about Shane. So definitely two different. Shane is hardly in the, kind of really hardly not in the comic books. But when we go from Shane, then we go to Lori. How did you feel about Lori in the comic books? Did you hate her as much as you hated her in the TV series, or could you tolerate her? Because her death is one of the most gruesome deaths, along with Glenn, in this comic book series. It's gruesome. It's because it's more impactful because it's what the circumstances was when she died.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was definitely one of the worst deaths, especially being Rick's wife. Especially she had Judith in her hand.
Judith, man, that was the.
So that was a
That,
double whammy. That was a double whammy there, and I could tolerate Lori more in the comic book series than the TV series. I don't even want to talk about the TV series Lori because she is just so terrible. And every time I seen her on the screen, I just wanted to throw a brick through my TV and ruin. I
yeah,
wouldn't even care if I broke my TV. I'm so happy she's gone in the TV series. But you mentioned Shane. He was only around. His death was in issue 6, and man, I wish Shane was still around now. I wish like Carl, man. He's letting the love blind him, just like Shane did. If Shane was still around today, it'd be awesome. I think it would be just awesome.
I think Shane. I think that they knew what they had in Shane. That's why they kind of stretched out his character in the TV series. But of course, I didn't like Shane as much as I liked him in the TV series, and that goes for the actor who plays Shane, John Berthal.
Yeah,
I mean, he does a fantastic job in the TV series. He really makes Shane like a contention to being one of my favorite Walking Dead characters. You won't know until next month, though. I gotta say though, yeah, Shane came, he went crazy in the first the first issues, but then that brings to Rick. I guess we can go, with Shane because Shane was quick. There wasn't really too much of him in the comic book. But I guess that goes into, since we're harkening back kind of those first issues. what about Rick and Morgan? Rick and Morgan, I mean, the TV series is doing a fantastic job. Rick and Morgan in a comic book series, Morgan as a character throughout the comic book series. I mean, I think a lot of people loved him in the comic book series as well. You said that you weren't too fond of Morgan in the comic book series. Why is that, Mike?
I don't know. We really didn't see him much in the comic book series. I feel like he wasn't as much of a badass as he could have been. I really. He was short-lived in the comic book series. He was around the first, I believe, maybe issue or two. I think it was just the first issue, and then we didn't see him until maybe 60, 70 issues later. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure. But and the way he went out, he got bit in the arm. He lasted so long, and he could have got a much better death than he did.
Totally agree, Mike. Especially since he didn't have the Gambit staff. He did not have the Gambit staff now. At that point. Yeah, it just seemed like Morgan, rereading the first issue, it just seemed like this Morgan towards the end as well, he just kind of went crazy, and he stayed crazy, so to speak. I did love his words that he gave to Carl, though. And then, of course, he missed, like, when he was dying, he's like, Dwayne. And then Carl's like, my name's not Dwayne. Like, I did love that conversation between those two. Morgan with the relationship with Michonne. It seems like Michonne is always constantly looking for a booty call.
Oh yeah, she was like a little S word, SLUT back in the comic book series, and that turned me off. And I know a couple of my friends who read the comic book series who didn't like Michonne because she was all over the place in the beginning issues. But now I feel like she got her stuff together, and oof.
Say what it is, Mike. Say what it is. She was a tart. She was a tart, damn it.
Yes, she was. Yes, she definitely was. But I guess it's realistic. People want to get down and dirty in that world. They don't know if they're going to be alive in the next hour or so. It's totally.
That's what I like about the Walking Dead comic book series, is that this is. It's funny to say realistic because you have freaking the dead walking and eating people. Yeah. It's fun to say realistic, but when it comes to relationships, when it comes to what people would do, it's very realistic because people would constantly have sex and stuff. Because what else can you do? You might die in the next freaking 5 minutes, so why don't you get it on? And there's also overall just trying to live, maybe even being in constant fear. And some of the decisions that these characters make throughout the series, like, I mean. Yeah, it kind of makes sense, and you kind of like say what these characters are doing. I think I could see that happening in the real world.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree, and I like how you say it's funny to say that it is realistic, but let's just put the zombies aside and the walkers aside for a second. And if we were in an apocalyptic situation, I feel like it'd be totally realistic for all that to be going down. So.
And that's why a lot of these, like the Hunters or like the Whispers, especially the Whispers now, there's no rules anymore. There's no rules. Everything's fair game. You could do what you want. You just try to survive. You try to survive as well as you can. And that's what's interesting with Rick, where he's trying to bring it back to the modern, what it used to be, which it's kind of hard to do that now that you live in this world where everything has changed so much and all the rules have been broken. So along the way, with all these issues that we've had, we've seen that. We've seen Rick and the group try to at least have some normality, but I mean, it's super, it's freaking hard when you have thousands of zombies going after your ass.
Oh yeah, man. Oh, there was just so much craziness in before the time skip. Oh
man,
I just really love Robert Kirkman as a person. I cannot wait to see what he has in store for the future. I'm just so looking forward to it. Like I said to you before in the past podcast, if he released a new issue every day, I would be there buying it every single day. That's how much I love this.
How much are individual comics going for? Like, just the paperback.
Oh, it depends. I mean, issue 1 is ungraded good condition, at least $1,500. I mean, earlier
Whoa,
issues, some are 150, $50. I mean, 30 in the 30s and 40s, they can go for $25, $35, way more
that's
than the cover price.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I just want to make a quick shout out because what really I read also when I didn't have a lot of my issues. I want to make a shout out to Comic All Day. His channel, he constantly had issues up. He constantly put in work. He constantly gave us scans, went right on time. He had to make, or these people had to make, I don't know, channel after channel because YouTube would take it down because, they're putting out full issues on YouTube. So I just want to make a shout out to Comic All Day. It was like 8, 7. It was like so many numbers. But what they did, they brought a lot of people who haven't read the comics and don't want to go out and buy it and just read it maybe on YouTube. They brought a lot of new fan base for The Walking Dead. And I just want to make a shout out real quick to Comic All Day. I don't know if you went to their channel, Mike. I think I did put the link a couple of times with people who asked.
When I first started reading the comics, before I bought any of the volumes or the hardcovers, I gotta admit, Dan, I used them as my source.
Yeah.
I think it was back in 2012 or 2013 when I binge watched all the TV show, and I just wanted to start reading the comics, and I went on YouTube and typed in The Walking Dead, and that's how I binge read all my issues through that. So it's really funny that you just mentioned them. So yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate what they did. I always even comment like, yeah, you guys are awesome. Or I always, when I did my reviews, revert to them because they put in work, man. And I haven't checked, but I don't think they're up anymore. I think they're kind of, maybe they are. It's been a while, but yeah. Every time I tried to go and see if they had any issues up, they never. I don't even think their channel exists anymore. Or I think it does exist, but I don't think they put it up anymore. I'm not sure. Of course, I have a news source, but I do recommend you guys go buy the actual freaking paperback. These volumes, man? These volumes are amazing.
Yeah, definitely go out there and buy it. It's worth every penny and more.
Yeah, and then I always like reading stuff with having it in my hands than actually having it maybe on a tablet or on a phone or on YouTube. I like to have it with me.
Yeah,
I could just. Let's get into Glenn. Happy, fans are so happy for Glenn. Definitely so happy for Glenn in the TV series. Still should have died, but anyway. So Glenn, though, not only is he beloved in the TV series, but boy, is he loved in a comic book series because this character overall is probably one of the best characters to ever be put on paper. I don't know if you agree with that, Mike.
Oh yeah, I agree with you all the way. He was definitely one of my favorites, and still is till this day, even after his brutal death.
Yeah. So just talking a little bit about Glenn, what were your probably what did you think about that character throughout, like until his death? I mean, who would have thought he would have got with Maggie? Who would have thought that Rick's first, other than after Morgan, it was Glenn. I think it was Glenn who was the second person that really saved Rick's ass in the very beginning when he went to Atlanta. I believe it was in Atlanta, in the comics. Glenn has just really been there. I mean, he's done a lot in the comic book series. He's really helped this group out so much, just like the TV series. And then it was very interesting too towards the end of his life how he was ready to start. He was going to start a family. He was going to start a family, but he was ready to kind of move on from Rick. He loves Rick, but he was ready to just move on from there and go to the hilltop. What did you feel about Glenn overall in his life from beginning to the fatal gruesome?
I feel like we have to thank Glenn a lot because if it wasn't for him, Rick probably wouldn't be here right now, and he definitely saved Rick's butt a bunch of times. And I love his progression throughout the comic series. Man, he was one of their. Another, like Eugene, a very big asset to the group. He was very loved in my eyes, and towards the end, you were right. He wanted to branch away from Rick and start his own life at the hilltop, and you can't blame him, because he wants to settle down after 100 issues in an apocalypse. After everything they went through together, I think Glenn was getting a little tired, and he had enough, and he definitely put in his work. I feel like he had every right to move on with Maggie at the hilltop and settle down. Even if he did settle down, if he was still here today, he would, without a doubt, still be helping Rick. But
Yeah.
I feel like he had every right to branch away and start his own life.
That would have been crazy if he actually became the leader of the Hilltop instead of Maggie. But I do like how Kirkman did put Maggie in as the leader. So, do you think Kirkman made the right decision to kill off Glenn that way with Negan?
I think it was perfect. I think that death was perfect in my eyes. How Negan hopped out of the trucks with, at least 50 men of his, armed to the teeth, showing that he is definitely a badass. He put everyone on their knees. I think that scene was perfect, and I think they couldn't have killed off anyone else, and it wouldn't have affected us as much as it did with Glenn. So I think Glenn, the way he went out in the series, was perfect. I have nothing wrong with that at all. I think perfect, 100% perfect. I don't know if you agree with me, but I loved every second of it. As much as I love Glenn, and I still wish he was around, I think it was absolutely perfect, and I cannot stress that enough.
Mike, I 1,000% agree with you. I think that was the right call. I think how it was all set up. I think that moment's gonna live forever. That moment is one of the is maybe the greatest moment in the Walking Dead comic book series. Maybe, because there's a lot of great moments, but what Kirkman made the decision to kill off Glenn in that particular issue, and just really how he set it all up, and to introduce Negan, really, it was perfect. I wouldn't change anything about it, even though how much it hurts and how sad it is. That's sometimes you get the greatest moments out of that. You get the greatest moments out of sadness and pain, and that was Glenn. That was Glenn all the way. So I absolutely agree with you, Mike. It was the perfect way for Glenn to really, not the perfect way to go out, but it was the most memorable way to go out for a character like Glenn. It was the most heartbreaking, and that's what you want with The Walking Dead. You want, you think everything's going coasting right by. You think, okay, everything's kind of fine until they rip your heart out and say, no, we're going to take away one of the characters you love, but we're not just going to take him away. We're gonna destroy him. We're gonna destroy him right in front of your eyes, and you're gonna love every single minute of it.
Yeah, I think that was perfect, and you, like you said, you actually felt it. It hit you like a brick, and I loved every second of it. And I'm not saying I want more of our main members to die, but I feel like we need something like that to happen again.
I agree. I think we don't constantly need the main members to die, but it's always good to always remind people that these characters are not safe and they could die anytime in a bizarre way. Real quick, I'm just interested. Which version of Glenn do you like? Do you like the comic book Glenn, or do you like the TV series Glenn better?
Wow, that's a very, very, very hard question. Oof. I'd have to go with the TV series, Dan. I don't know if you agree with me, but I'd have to go with the TV series, Glenn.
Mike, what the hell is... No, I'm just kidding. I agree, buddy. Yes, I do prefer the TV series, Glenn. I just think... the TV series... We're going to have to make another podcast of the comparison between the TV series and the comic books. Some things they do phenomenal, and some things they drop the ball on. But with Glenn, I think they really, just like Michonne, I think they really expanded that character more and really gave those characters more teeth and more, definitely, shockingly, love them even more than we already have. So I do say TV series Glenn, Mike.
Yeah. And yeah, without a doubt, Glenn on the TV series is better.
Okay, so we have been talking about Negan. We've been talking about the Whispers. We've been talking about the Hunters. We even talked about some of the characters in The Walking Dead. But I wanted to really set up this character because this character is the one that really had people talking. This is where I think The Walking Dead really took off, and that arc, and just the overall setting of everything. The setting was perfect. I love it. I absolutely love where Kirkman took it. I love all the consequences that happened that I believe the TV series dropped the ball on. And that, I think you know where I'm headed to, Mike, is the governor. The governor is if you read some of that's why he has spin-off books too, because the governor is such a douchebag. But overall, that whole arc, especially with him and Michonne, him and Rick. I mean, Tyrese. Remember Tyrese? I mean, oh wow, that whole thing was just really, really well done. What are your thoughts on the governor arc?
I agree. I feel like they could have done much more in the TV series with the governor, but there's only so much you can get away with on television. I mean,
I'm not saying the rape scene should have been there. No, I knew they weren't going to do that. But the savagery in that arc, they could have, if they wanted to, they could have found a way to cut off Rick's hand.
yeah.
But and that was kind of stupid in a series how like they kind of brushed it off with Rick holding his hand. That was kind of retarded. But anyway, so yeah, but the governor, man, just talk about like introducing a villain as well. Straight out going after the main character and just saying, "Hey, your hand, give me it. I took your hand."
Yeah, I think that was another great introduction as well as Negan's. I feel like they could have done much more with him in the TV series. But as far as the comic goes, I think they did a fantastic job with the governor. Fantastic job, especially his conflict with Michonne and how them two went at it with the spoon and all that. Him losing his eye and
Oh,
the dirty things they both did to each other. I just love that arc, and the governor was he was around for quite some time in the comics, and I think Kirkman did a great job. Great job.
yeah, man. You talk about savagery and what Michonne did to the governor and what the governor did to Michonne. Those two were going back and forth, man. It was insane. It was like, damn, human beings are definitely not supposed to be treated like this. But that show, the governor really showcased the world on how basically you could have all these people follow you and you could be the evilest mofo in there. You could just be as bad. You could be worse than the walkers themselves. I mean, the governor was just, it's just insane, man. The governor, that whole thing to me it definitely is up there as one of the best, maybe the best arc of the Walking Dead series. We have a lot more to go, but the governor definitely needs some props. He may be not as great and charismatic as the Negan, but he definitely made a name for himself by how ruthless he was. And those particular scenes that the TV series didn't do too well, I think really works in the comic book series, is when he is sitting down on a chair and he has beheaded walkers all in like these tanks and stuff. That's just, I mean, in the comic book, how they did it was fantastic. How Kirkman did it was fantastic.
Yeah. I think the way Kirkman did it was spot on, word for word what you just said. It was fantastic. And the only thing that I didn't like about the governor's story arc in the comics, I enjoyed everything else. I just didn't enjoy how he died. I don't think it should have been. I think it was Lily who killed him. I think that was very disappointing in my eyes. I don't know if you agree, but I was disappointed with his death. I think he should have went out in a different way. And I think pretty sure it was Lily who killed him. I don't think it should have been her.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it was Lily. You know what? Yeah, you're right about that. I'm not. It definitely really think about his death, which is kind of a problem because you want to think about, oh yeah, this tyrant got his at the end, and he did get his, but he got his in a way that we probably wanted Michonne to behead him more than we wanted Lily to shoot him.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, that Oh, you're absolutely right, Mike. The way that came concluded with the governor and how his demise came to be, uh, it wasn't as satisfying as when like Michonne was just and this really showcases Michonne too, because I mean you don't mess with Michonne. You don't mess with Michonne. Michonne got her. She got the governor, and that's. I think I would have rather see Michonne really just finish the job, but you're right on the aspect of it was kind of dissatisfying when the governor kind of went out that way. But the the whole setting in the prison. Now, this is where I think this TV series did okay with, but still kind of dropped the ball on. The prison was, it definitely felt like, well, I don't want to say they dropped the ball. I guess they got a pretty good aspect of the prison. I think they dropped the ball on the governor, honestly. But the prison itself, I did love how we're introduced to the prison. I don't think I've ever seen it before in like anything zombie genre related. The only time I've seen something unique as a setting like that was the mall in Dawn of the Dead, old and new version. So, what did you think about the whole setting with the prison? Were you, when you first like came up onto that and them going to the prison and kind of clearing it out, were you excited to be in like, oh wow, I never seen this kind of this happen before, where their fortress is a prison, and it kind of makes sense in a way.
I loved how in like the real world before an apocalypse, people are put in a prison and all they want to do is escape. And now we're in an apocalyptic world and people find that it's a shelter. I really love that twist, and I was very excited for that. And I loved that too. I think that was great the way Kirkman did it. Turn the tables.
Couldn't said it any better, Mike. I mean, absolutely on the money. That is crazy how, now they're in a prison and now everybody wants to get out, but no, they're here. They want to be in. They want to be locked up. They want to be Akon. Gotta say, man, it's that whole the prison was great. So should we? I guess we should talk about Herschel. Herschel. What are your feelings on Herschel?
Another character which I'm a little disappointed in. I feel like they could have done so much more in the comic book series. I mean, that's really all I have to say. I feel like they could have expanded his character so much more, but they didn't. I mean, there's only so much you can do, I guess, right? And he lasted quite some time in the comics, but I feel like Kirkman could have done so much more with him. Honestly, compared to the TV series.
Honestly, I'm kind of drawing a blank now. How did Herschel die in the comic book series?
I believe he died in the prison.
He did, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
I'm getting so overshadowed with the TV series right now because I guess the TV series does a better job. Yeah. I can't necessarily remember how Herschel went out.
I'm pretty sure it was issue 48 in with Laurie and Judith and the governor. Herschel was one of them to go. Yeah,
that's how kind of crazy where it is. Like, I can't really necessarily remember just like I can't even remember really the panel. I definitely remember how Laurie went, but I guess that says something where I can't really necessarily remember how Herschel went because in the comic, I guess they just really throw it away, and they really throw away an opportunity there.
Yeah, I definitely got to reread the whole series again because, like I said before, I can't get enough. I can't get enough, and it's good to refresh once in a while.
Yeah, it definitely is good because we've had quite a bit of issues. It takes there. We do remember a lot of the great moments, but there's a lot of small details too in some of these issues that we kind of miss. Like when you were pointing out with Carl and everything, even though it was recent kind of issues. Those are little details that like, oh yeah, that's absolutely right. That's why it's always great to have somebody to talk to. When reading or watching The Walking Dead, so they could point out something that you haven't seen or you missed.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like when we chatted up, like you notice things that I've never noticed before, same vice versa, and that's why I love chatting it up with you, and I can do it all the time, man.
Hell yeah, man! That's why we're doing this podcast. So. I mean, just so many things have happened in the comic book series. let's go. Let's go to. I want you to pick a character that you really want to just kind of address and really talk about. I'll pick a character as well. This doesn't necessarily mean this is our favorite character out of the whole Walking Dead series. It's just one of the characters we kind of really wanted to kind of put the spotlight on. So I'm going to ask you first, Mike. What character do you want to kind of address and really like talk about in what you've been one of your favorites, or you really enjoy this character every time you see him or her in the issue? What character would that be? It doesn't necessarily mean that it's your favorite. It's just one of the characters you kind of really want to put a spotlight on.
I'm glad you asked that question. Wow. Well, definitely one of my favorites. I would love to talk and see more of Jesus.
I don't think we talked enough about Jesus, especially in this podcast. Please tell the people how you feel and who Jesus really is as a character.
I mean, the first thing I think of when I see or hear Jesus is loyal. I don't think anyone could be as loyal as Jesus, man. He's
Wait, so you don't think Mel Gibson? Oh, I went there. Sorry, Mike. I had to.
Mel is crazy.
He's a crazy. That's why he's Mad Max. That's why he's Max.
But
continue, Mike. I'm sorry, I had to go there.
No apologies. Yeah, Jesus. I think he's shown that he's fit for this world that we're in now, and he's very loyal, and he's someone that you can go to for advice. And I'm just loving every second of Jesus whenever I see him, especially recently with him and Maggie, all those interactions. Can't get enough of Jesus either. I cannot wait to see, as well as a bunch of other characters, where Kirkman is going to take Jesus as a character. I can't wait.
This dude could fight. This dude is probably the best fighter out of everybody in this, out of all the characters. Would you agree on that, Mike?
Hands down, yeah. I can't argue with that one bit. I think he is, if not the best, one of them, without a doubt.
Ah, man, that's an awesome character to shine the light on. I mean, yeah, Jesus has getting introduced to him. I was so like, whoa, this guy's like jumping everywhere. He's like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon over here. And he was a little shady at first. He was a little shady because he had these abilities and he didn't know where he was coming from. You didn't know if you could trust this guy or not. And it's going to be very interesting when the TV series introduces him. But once you get to know this character and you get to see how loyal he is, especially to Maggie right now, and just how he progressed throughout all these issues and how much of he could be a leader if he wanted to. He could be a leader, and he could have very well be the leader of Hilltop, but he said, you know what, nah, I'll let you take I'll be right here, but you take the seat, Maggie. Do you think he could have been a leader?
I without a doubt, I think he could have been a leader, hands down, 100%. No argue. I'm not arguing with you there, but I feel like he's good as better off as a second, like a number two, like
yeah.
Being like a right-hand man to Maggie. I love the position that he's in right now. I love it. And who knows, if Maggie does pass, I can definitely see Jesus stepping up and being the leader of the Hilltop.
Yeah, man. Jesus is he's such a great character, and if you think about it, we haven't had that much of Jesus as like the other characters, and he's already become one of the fan favorites, of course, and one of the best characters in this in The Walking Dead. It's going to be very interesting too when it comes to Whisperers in this war, because he's already been through a war with Negan. It's going to be very interesting what he does with the Whisperers. This is a different opponent. This is a different scenario. So Jesus, how do you think Jesus, going back to the Whispers, how do you think he's going to fare with the Whispers?
He already encountered a big group of the Whispers, and I am totally
that's true.
Forward.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm totally looking forward to see him whoop some butt. I'm totally looking forward to it.
Did you think though for a moment that he was going to get overwhelmed?
Yeah, he was overwhelmed. At first, when he ran into them, he was like, "You guys talk? Let's see how fast you can run."
He's like, "Oh, that motherfucker just talked to me." Oh my! Yeah, just going back also on that little issue and just overall the whispers and getting introduced to them. At first, when I was doing those reviews, I was like, "Holy shit! Did Kirkman go a route where evolution, where the now after a certain time, somehow, some way, these walkers are able to talk and communicate? That would have been kind of crazy."
I was thinking that too, and I would have been totally turned off with the series if he went in that route. And I'm so happy and so glad that he didn't go in that route because it would have been very, very silly, very silly.
That would have been beyond that. That would be even more supernatural, and that would be. I could see that becoming very silly too, Mike.
Yeah.
But you were absolutely right. I forgot he did encounter the whispers. And what was his name? Dante. Dante, right?
Dante, and I love his character too, man. I can't wait to
You like
see
Dante?
him. I really like Dante, and I feel like he's going to be a very heavy hitter in the issues to come. Kirkman has plans with Dante too. He might die soon, but Kirkman has something up his sleeve with Dante.
I don't think I've had enough of. I don't think I've really showcased enough of like Dante or really give me anything to really like Dante. I don't hate him, but I don't necessarily like him. He's just kind of whatever to me for some reason. It is interesting how there has to be something going on. It has to be something that Kirkman has in mind because he is always. It seems like he's always trying to get with Maggie. We'll see where that goes. Honestly,
I'm interested in that. Definitely seeing him and Maggie interact. I like that.
Yeah.
Who's your character? That's the big question here. Who do you want to spotlight?
Before I spotlight this character, because I can go all day with this character, and I think we can go all day with this character. I just wanted to throw in a name out there real quick. Just put a name out there because we haven't really talked about him, and he is starting to become very interesting in a TV series. So let's just talk about this character real quick before we enter my character, Abraham.
Okay.
Abraham. The comic book series, when the actor was cast in the TV series, I was like, this guy looks nothing like Abraham in a comic book series. The comic book series, this Abraham is huge. He's huge. He looks like that guy from Choppers, the old man. I mean, Abraham in the comic book series, especially with the crazy relationship he had with Rosita, even Eugene, Holly. I mean, Abraham is one of the, and I like how Rick really talks about how Abraham, when he talked to Andrea, how it seemed like he was already forgetting Abraham. Mike, tell me what your thoughts are on Abraham in the comic book and his death. Did you like his death, or did you like that was okay? I didn't really expect that, but I didn't really necessarily like it. Tell me a little bit about Abraham, Mike.
The only thing I liked about his death is that it was unexpected and that it was in literally the second page of an issue. Usually something happens, it's towards the end of an issue. And the only thing I liked about his death, that it was unexpected. Other than that, I don't like the way Abraham went out. And I feel like he should have lasted longer. I feel like we should have seen him in all-out war. But that's what happens in the comics. Anything can happen in this series.
I think Abraham is the type of character that definitely would die off. But you're right. If they would have stretched it out, I would have been happy with that too. And but I didn't think he was going to live as long, or I didn't think he was going to live, like right now the time skip. I could see him dying along All Out War too. But how do you feel as for the character? Like, did you necessarily like that character? Did you like overall what was going on between him, Holly, Rosita, even Eugene, or were you just like kind of like, the character was fine?
I mean, I enjoyed his character. I liked it. His little stretch in the series, but he wasn't. I don't know. I'm trying to find the right word. He wasn't doing it for me. I feel like he could have. He was like a loose cannon. You don't know what was going to happen next with him.
And I thought, you see, this is where Kirkman kind of throws like a little curveball. You think these subtle little things or these little details could expand even more, especially when Holly and Abraham were to bed together, and Holly was kind of suggesting that Abraham should be the leader, and I thought maybe that would go somewhere, but we find out that no, one arrow to the head stops all that conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Mike, I think we could talk about this character because this character is one of my favorites, and I'm going to already say she's probably in my top three. I don't know if she's number one because Jesus is awesome, but then you also have Rick, and then you also have. I don't think Michonne is too high on the list of comic book wise, uh, but you're gonna have to find out next month. But I will talk about this character because I always like to talk about this character, and I gotta say I think one of my favorites and why I enjoy the series so much is Andrea.
Okay.
Andrea is one of my favorite characters because just the progression. I mean, just like every other, the characters like Glenn, of course, like Glenn, Rick, how she went from point A to present is insane. How badass she got, how much of a reliable comrade she is, and how much of a sharpshooter she is. And then, of course, how much of like that second in command, she is able to really give strong advice and really stand her ground and have her morals and also her philosophy where she's a survivalist and she's not going to die. I think this character overall is one of the strongest characters in the series, and I think Kirkman has done a fantastic job with her. I believe she is also one of the biggest. She definitely is so much better than the TV version. I don't even want to talk about that TV version of Andrea. But Andrea in the comic book series, I think hands down is one of the strongest and definitely most likable characters in the series. What do you think, Mike?
I agree with you totally. Her progression through the comic book series is, oh man, it's ridiculous. And I don't even think Kirkman knew how much she would progress when he first started writing the series. I don't even think he knew that he had these plans for Andrea. I guess throughout time he started liking the character more and decided to keep her around because if you think about her from back then to now, it is a totally different Andrea. And you can't even compare Andrea from the comic book series to the TV series, so let's not even get into that because it is uncomparable. Just like Carol in the comic book series to the TV series, you can't even compare that. So yeah, I don't even think Kirkman knew where Andrea would be in issue 148 right now. I don't even think he knew that she would be this strong and this much of a likable character. I love everything that he did with Andrea, and I feel bad for Rick because I don't see Andrea lasting that much longer, unfortunately.
No, honestly, I thought Andrea would kind of bite the dust early, a little bit earlier. But I'm glad that Kirkman has kept her around. She has this badass desperado kind of look that I'm really like that design for her in the current costume or current issues.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and I think it was the most fantastic and smart decision in Kirkman's part to really pair up Andrea with Rick. Because if you think about it, Andrea is just like Rick. She has lost a lot. She's lost a family, basically. Rick has Carl, but Rick has lost Judith and Lori. Where Andrea has lost, of course, Dale, the boys, and now we have these current issues that establish that now she has a new family. She has Rick and she has Carl. And knowing these are like out of that group, along with Michonne and everybody, Andrea and Rick are, like I said, is like the strongest out of all of them. They're maybe not as physically stronger than maybe Michonne and all that stuff, or with of course with her katana and stuff. But I mean, they're the jefes. They're the jefes and jefa of that whole community. Really, that's like I said, that's like the president and first lady. So I thought Kirkman putting these two together makes a lot of sense. So when I was reading those issues where these two actually hooked up and actually the conversations that they had, and that's what appeals to me a lot of the Walking Dead series, is the conversations these two have, the back and forth, the way that when certain deaths like Glenn and Abraham, when he talked to Andrea about it, and especially when Rick said that he wasn't going to go after Negan, and then Andrea got pissed, and then he kind of like said, no, we're actually going to really go after Negan. I mean, I think that's what works a lot with Rick's. I mean, they both really contribute with both each other's character because they're together, because they a lot they've been through a lot, and they're pretty much almost the same. They're both survivalists.
Yeah, I can't argue with you one bit. I mean, Andrea has progressed so much, and the first interactions between them two, and then you see them gradually start getting closer and closer. Now we're at the point where you can say Rick is like the president and she is the first lady, and we're also at the point where Carl is actually calling Andrea mom, which I never
Which was
coming.
crazy. Yeah, I would have. That was crazy. That when he, I even addressed that in my review. Like when he said that, like that's why I thought that he would pull the trigger on Lydia if Lydia killed Andrea, because that's how close that he became. That he got close to Andrea, and if you're calling somebody, especially with Lori, because we know Rick and Carl really loved Lori. We didn't love her, but we know they did. I mean, that's a huge thing right there. It's a little small detail, but that's a huge little detail.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, that's why Carl was pointing the gun at Lydia, but he was pointing it at Andrea at first. He was. And I was.
Well, you know what? I couldn't really tell because like my link, the first page when it would pop up on me.
You were on your phone too when you were watching, right? So you really,
for some reason it wasn't popping up. I was like, what the hell?
He was pointing that gun at his mom at first, and that's why another reason why I'm starting to not like
Carl
that much. But we can go on for hours about that. And we definitely got to do another one of these comic podcasts really soon.
Yeah. But didn't he end up pointing it at Lydia too, though?
Oh yeah. Right after that, he snapped out of it really quick. But at first, he was pointed at Andrea, and then a couple seconds later, he was pointing at Lydia because I guess he realized how dumb he actually was being.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I see that first page. I could barely see it. I was like, "What the hell's?" Okay, maybe he's pointing. That's crazy. That's a new one for me. That's a new one for me right there. I also love because just really love the survival instinct of Andrea, especially when she was in the bell tower and she was fighting that guy, and I thought she was dead. I thought when that body went flying out of there, I thought she was gone. I was like, ugh, dude, that sucks. But you see, and then you see her face. She's just like bloody, beaten up, swollen, and she was able to survive that attack. I mean, that's how you know Kirkman is doing his job right.
I love that scene in the comics, and that's one of the scenes where I started to fall even more in love with Andrea. Loved it.
Yeah. So I mean, both our characters. So like they're up there. They're definitely in the top 10. I think Jesus is definitely in the top 10 because with a short amount of time that he's had, and it's not too short, but it's a little bit short when compared to other characters. This guy has already done so much and has really established and proven so much that and then Andrea, I think we definitely don't want to see her die. I think it's going to happen eventually, but that character Andrea is also one of the best characters in the series.
Oh yeah, hands down one of the best, Andrea, and it's going to be sad when he takes her away from us, Kirkman. And I hope it's not anytime soon, but I think it's going to be within the next couple issues.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people are feeling that way too. Well, you know what? It's an interesting topic right here. Do you see Jesus dying anytime soon, or do you see Jesus dying at all? Because honestly, I can never see this guy dying. The only way you're going to kill this guy if you catch him off guard. And I mean, it has to be completely off guard. I just can never see this character dying.
I cannot see him dying. Ever. I can't even say anytime. I cannot see him dying. No way. Nope. But you never know. You never know what Kirkman has in store. So it could happen. But if you asked me, if I had to put money on it, I'd put my money on it that Jesus is going to be around for a long time.
So, but let's say we are Kirkman. Let's say we're Kirkman and we say, you know what, Jesus has been around, but he's going to be the next death. He's going to be the next one that's going to be on my list. Who kills Jesus? Does a Walker kill Jesus? Does the Whisperers kill Jesus? Does Negan kill Jesus? Who kills Jesus, Mike?
If Jesus is going out, he's going to go out with a big fight, definitely decapitating a lot of people with his new sword that he has since he had the New Beginning. A group of at least 4 or 5 Whisperers would have to Alpha included, would have to grab him up and beat him down and do something really terrible to him, like string him up on a rope or something for that man to die. You gotta have a bunch of people taking him down because it can't
Yeah.
be just one or two or three people because he's such a great fighter. So a nice amount of, I would say at least 5, 6, 7 of the Whisperers, including Alpha, have to grab him up and rough him up and bloody him to death. That's the only way I can see him going out.
I'm gonna say Alpha.
Yeah, right.
I'll say Alpha. I'll say Alpha. And I'm gonna go even crazier. I'll say Alpha alone.
Oof! Oh man!
I
Oh man!
that's
This ain't going out. Just one person. He's taking down a lot of people.
I know, which would be like
Oh,
totally just like what the fuck? Like I would say Alpha alone would kill Jesus. Maybe I don't think I just don't see this man dying, but
I don't see
um,
him going though.
I'm gonna go the craziest theory and say Alpha alone will kill Jesus.
That'd be crazy. I think it'd be Alpha and at least 5 or 6 of men.
Shit, it'd be Alpha and that whole horde of zombies. That's
Oof.
the only way to kill Jesus.
Oof.
His name is Jesus. How do you keep this guy down, man? I mean, that's why we don't think he could die, because his name is Jesus. He looks like Jesus, talks like Jesus. Jesus, man, he's one of the best.
Hallelujah.
I love how you pointed out the swords, the katana that Jesus is using. And a lot of these guards are using, or a lot of the watch people. This gets me to another topic. So we've seen the progression from issue 1 to the current issue. Of course, how the community is built and all that. How do you feel how Kirkman is doing that right now in the current issue? How do you feel like, does it make sense with everybody having a katana, everybody having the prison guards gear, and just overall how the community is flourishing? Do you feel like that's very realistic? Do you feel like that definitely was the right direction to go and that it makes sense? And do you feel like because I'm assuming a lot of damage is going to happen, so when this all gets taken away, do you think could be rebuilt or not?
I believe that there's always a possibility of everything being rebuilt, but I see that I think it's totally realistic that everyone's carrying these katanas, swords, whatever it is, in the gear that they have. It's quiet. It's not that. I mean, we know Eugene's making the ammo, but it's ammo right now. I feel like it's very realistic, but I feel like each of these guards or these people who are going out should have at least a handgun on them with a clip of ammo on them. But they first should resort to the swords. And if they need it, they'll always have that gun. And we don't see a lot of people with the guns on them anymore who are out there. At least I don't see it. Maybe I'm missing something, but no, I didn't see when Dante got captured by the Whisperers at first. He didn't have a gun on him. No.
Yeah, I didn't see. Yeah, I think they all just had just katanas. Well, maybe they did have. I think they did have a gun. Maybe. I'm starting to remember. I think they did have a gun.
Yeah, maybe I missed that.
Yeah. But yeah, going from the katana, and that has to be heavily influenced by Michonne, right?
Yeah, I mean, who else can it be? I definitely see. Yeah, maybe Michonne making them go in that direction because it totally makes sense.
Yeah. A lot of people have a love kind of hate, not hate, but they don't necessarily like too much of Michonne in the comic book series. They like her. Sometimes a lot of people like her, and a lot of people are like, neutral about her. So we should definitely talk about Michonne, because Michonne is one of the pivotal characters in the series, and she has been through a lot. And her coming back from sea might set up something huge. I mean, there's so many setups that could happen. We don't know, but one of them could be huge, like going out to sea even more. So how do you feel about Michonne, Mike, and where overall her character was and where it's going?
I feel like Michonne has a lot of potential. I feel like she has a lot more to say about her adventure at sea than what we heard so far, and I feel like we're gonna get back to that. There's just so much going on, like right now, but I feel like we're definitely gonna get back to whatever happened at sea and more of that, and I'm looking forward to hear more of that. But she's a badass, man. She's definitely a badass, and she always has been since the second we seen her in issue 19 till now. She has always been that badass. She's had low points and high points, but she's always maintained that badass about her, and I can't. That's another character. I just can't get enough of her, and I hope she doesn't bite the dust soon. Considering that Ezekiel we just lost Ezekiel, but yeah, I mean I have no complaints about Andrea whatsoever.
Do you think that maybe she should have? Do you think that she opens up enough? We did. I think she's opening up more, especially with Rick. But do you think? You think she's kind of? She doesn't really give you too much in the comic book series.
No, no, and I like her much better in the comic book series, but she hasn't been she hasn't opened up enough, but she just started to recently.
Yeah.
She just started to recently, and I'm looking, and that's another thing I'm looking forward to. I want to know more about, Michonne. I want to see more of her emotions. Oh,
Yeah.
My battery's dying.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I definitely want to see more of Michonne and her emotions, and because we know she loves and hates, and I want to see more of that. Okay. And we're starting to see that more.
Okay, real quick, Mike. Who is the father of Rosita's baby?
If I had to guess, Ezekiel or that guy Sadiq.
Really?
Sadiq.
You think Ezekiel?
It's either Ezekiel, if I had to guess, or that guy Sadiq. I don't know if you remember him, but he was introduced in the New Beginning. He was helping carry the wood. He had the wood on his shoulder when Andrea was coming in to help with the fair. He was helping with the fair. So it's either Sadiq or Ezekiel, in my opinion.
I think you're right. I was going for that guy, but that's interesting. Ezekiel, huh? Why would you say that?
Because Michonne and Ezekiel were on bad terms when Ezekiel died. So we really don't know why they were on bad terms.
Oh, that is kind of. I thought it had to do with something with the war a little bit, but that might be a good point too.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great. Yeah, that's great. That might come into play. Definitely.
I'm looking forward to finding out because Eugene doesn't know who the father is.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't really matter, or it doesn't really matter now.
Doesn't matter, but it matters to us. We want to know. I know. Yeah. I want to
know. And also. Let's end this by predicting how many issues, Mike? How many issues does The Walking Dead have left? Well, what issue are we at? What issue?
We're at 148 right now. 149 comes out in 2 weeks from today, and I'm so pumped for that.
Live reaction review again.
300, right? At least 300. I'm hoping.
That's what I was about to say. I'm gonna say it's gonna be an even number, and I'm gonna say it's gonna be a special number. I think Kirkman wants to end it with definitely a bang. We're at 148. That's a lot of story left. That's definitely a lot of story left. I will say 300 too. I'll put my money on 300. I think 300 is a nice number, and it's a great. You told what you wanted to tell on all those issues. You could have the evolution of Carl in that span as well. So I'm gonna say 300 too, Mike. I'll predict 300.
I hope so, man. I hope it doesn't end, but if it does, I hope we get at least another 150 issues. Yeah,
but you gotta always remember too, though. You always want to go out with a bang. You never want to go out with a whimper. And I think anything. It goes for anything. It can't really necessarily last forever. Everything has to end. Everybody has to have an ending, and it's just the way you end things. So I think The Walking Dead is fantastic right now, but after a while. I think Kirkman, as long as he knows where he's going and where he wants to end, and he knows he has a lot more story to tell, and he keeps providing us with great quality. I think The Walking Dead is awesome, but I think somewhere around, I think 300 definitely it should stop there.
Yeah, I think that'd be a perfect landmark for it to end, because you're right, everything has to come to an end, and 300 would be nice.
Most definitely. Okay, guys. I mean, oh man, that was a comic book, and we can't wait till the next issue. This comic book podcast all day, The Walking Dead. Thank you, Mike, for joining me. I mean, great conversation, Mike. A lot of good topics.
Thank you, Dan. I'm looking forward to another comic book podcast. Hopefully, real soon.
Maybe this Sunday. Well, I mean, season finale is a Sunday.
Yeah, the mid-season finale. Yeah, so we're gonna be talking really soon.
Yeah, so we gotta really jump on that. I don't have to work on Monday anyway.
Oh, good.
Well, I don't have to work until 1:30. So, yeah. So, I mean, great conversation. I mean, there's so much there's so much material in the Walking Dead comic book series. So I really just advise everybody, if you haven't picked up the Walking Dead comic book series, you need to, because I think me and you, Mike, agree that the comic book series is superior than the television series, and it needs to be read if you are a Walking Dead fan. Mike, do you agree on that one?
I beg everyone who is watching this, if you do not read the comic book series, please do. You will not regret it for 1 second. Just read it. Read it, please.
And Mike, you can get the comics at a local comic book store for how much?
$2.99.
$2.99, and the next comic issue is in 2 weeks.
2 weeks from today.
Okay, awesome. And also, if you guys have a bookstore, I don't know if bookstores still are, if they've gone extinct or not, but even online. So go try, if you want like a big volume, check out these volumes right here. The Walking Dead. This is book 7. I believe it's in the Negan stage. So you can go ahead. You could either get the paperback issues, or you can get the big volumes if you just want the whole story. And this is gorgeous, man. I mean, look, there's big prints, beautiful, just beautiful right here, beautiful. So I do advise you guys, just go start reading. Go start reading. If you have people that has the comic books and stuff, ask to borrow it. So thank you guys for listening. This was our Walking Dead comic book version of the podcast. And I want to thank you, Mike. And then we're going to be coming back this Sunday with the season finale and our thoughts. And I just can't wait for that, Mike. So you got any last words, Mike?
I just want to thank you very much, Dan. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And if you don't read them, pick it up and start reading. You're not going to regret it.
Most definitely. So until this Sunday, until we talk more Walking Dead. I'm Dan Man, aka Daniel's son, along with Walking Dead Mike. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Like the video. Comment below. And I will see you later, Mike.
See you later, Dan.
All right. See you guys. You guys have a good weekend. Happy Thanksgiving. Get that Walking Dead on. Bye.